Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 9. Today we're going to be doing my final review ever. This is the series finale of The Flash. It's the final episode of all time. I need to break this down, talk about everything that went down in the episode because it's action-packed and there is an insane ending that could potentially set up a spin-off off of The Flash. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. I have to clarify, just because The Flash is ending, this doesn't mean that I'm going to stop making Flash videos or DC videos in general. Superman and Lois is still on, there is still lots of new DC shows coming out, and there's lots of DC content, so don't go anywhere guys, just because this is the final episode of The Flash. But for now, let's go ahead and break this episode down bit by bit, starting chronologically at the very beginning, and obviously we're going to get to the juicy stuff towards the end. However, it starts off in a very fast manner as we have that kind of original Flash intro that is kind of cut short as we see the rest of the Team Flash. It was a nice start to the episode, however I kind of wanted more, but Eric Wallace kind of delivered that towards the end of the episode. But just after that opening scene, you have Zoom. He appears out of nowhere. You start seeing flashes of him as he's turning into Black Flash that we previously saw at the end of season 2, and he pops up out of nowhere in this red room in the negative Speed Force. Well, we know that later in the episode, that's clarified why it's all red, but I think it's pretty obvious to see where they are. And so Zoom is here. He's played by Teddy Sears, returning in this episode. And Teddy Sears is one of my favorite actors. Obviously, he previously played the fake version of Jay Garrick, who was Hunter Zolomon, and then he played Zoom too. And he is one of my favorite characters. So it was so amazing to see Zoom back and seeing him face off against Godspeed at the start of this, because they're the two characters that pop up first. And obviously, they've been in the midst of something massive, and they've just been literally transported to the negative Speed Force out of nowhere. So they blame each other first, and every villain literally is like, I'm here to kill the Flash, like, you can't stop me by taking me out of the action. Then Reverse Flash comes next. You see him walk down the stairs, and he welcomes them to the negative Speed Force. Godspeed and Zoom don't know that this is negative Speed Force. Obviously, Zoom used V9, and also Godspeed used artificial Speed Force as well. Reverse Flash used to be the negative Speed Force avatar, and so he knows all about being in the negative Speed Force because he quite literally kind of created it himself. And so in the meantime, we have Zoom saying, I'm the fastest man alive. Then out of nowhere, Savitar appears and he's like, no, I'm the fastest man alive. Well, something along those lines. And it's just great to see them all in one room at the same time. And it's at this point that Eddie Thawne appears as he reveals to them that he's talking to a bunch of dead men. Obviously, they all think, oh, I'm going to defeat the Flash. None of them are thinking, oh, I'm going to lose this fight and I'm probably going to be dead or I'm going to be locked up or whatever. And so they all think they are invincible, but he reveals their destinies to them. And it's at this point that you see him kind of conduct the negative Speed Force, and his cobalt blue suit materializes around him. It's a really cool scene. I love the way that they kind of started this with all the villains like Zoom, Godspeed, Reverse Flash, and Savitar, and then the entrance of Eddie was really cool. But before the scene ends, he says they could do much more together than they could have ever done alone, and so that's why they all agreed to team up, because Eddie's basically told them, you're dead if you go back to where you came from. Also, it should be noted that Eddie's voice changes. It becomes distorted and more like a kind of villainous voice that we typically hear from speedster villains. And so after the first ad break, you see Eddie show up at the hospital where Iris and Barry are before Iris is about to give birth. He comes with some flowers. At first I thought, you know, in the trailer he was trying to win her back, but that's not the case. He's just like there out of being polite, but at the same time, you know, he's there to taunt them as well. So Iris tells Barry to run, and she says, run Barry run, which obviously we had to have that in the final episode of The Flash. And so we see Barry facing off against Cobalt Blue, who has red lightning. Yes, technically he should have blue lightning considering, you know, the crystal is blue and he is Cobalt Blue after all. But he is the negative Speed Force avatar, so it makes sense that he has red lightning. We can give that a pass. But At the same time, we have Nora who saves Barry, who appears out of nowhere to stop Cobalt Blue. But as Team Flash show up and, you know, they all gang up on Cobalt Blue, he introduces his new legion of villains. So Zoom, Savitar, Godspeed, Reverse Flash all show up out of these portals, these singularities that Cobalt Blue has created. And so yeah, this is a great face off against each other, and it's very early on in the episode, so this insane speedster battle and insane meta-human battle goes down. And I have to say, if I'm being completely honest, it was awesome to see all of this, but I think the battle, not all of it works. And let me explain why. Because I think the Savitar battle works as Savitar faces off against Nora specifically. So basically they kind of peel off and fight individual speedsters here. So Savitar's facing off against Nora. Savitar thinks he's got the best of Nora, but she phases as Savitar stabs her just like he stabbed Iris. I thought that was a very fitting scene, and I thought it was smart by Nora to basically trick Savitar to think he's got the better of her, but really she's thinking 2 steps ahead. So one of the battles I didn't like was Cecile against Godspeed. I thought it kind of sucked, especially after the Godspeed clones. It just didn't make any sense how she would be able to see them, number one, because they move so fast. And I understand that she can sense them, but they are appearing out of nowhere, and there's so many and they're going so fast that I don't believe she could actually take on all of them. Plus she was also flying. I thought that was a bit stupid based on the power sets that we've been seeing as of, you know, the last few years. Yes, they've tried to really amp up her powers and make her super powerful, but I think this is going a bit too far. Same goes for Reverse Flash as he goes to Star Labs. He takes out Chester real quick. Obviously they're just trying to eliminate the rest of Team Flash, and Chester is very vital. So he basically goes full on Emperor and uses his Force Lightning on him. But Allegra shows up and tries to save Chester, and she actually is able to take out Reverse Flash. Now, I think Reverse Flash should have acted quicker. This is one of the scenes that I wasn't so hot on, because he saw Allegra over Chester's knocked out body for such a long time, and he's just toying. Like, I get that Reverse Flash is all about that, but he's smarter than this. And so I think the way he's taken out by Allegra is way too simple, and that's the last time we see of him. So I think he should have faced off against Barry alongside Barry taking on Cobalt Blue. Okay, so the Zoom scene was really cool actually. That was one of the ones I really liked. So I like Savitar, I like Zoom, and I like Cobalt Blue too. So it wasn't so hot on Godspeed and Reverse Flash. So let's talk about Zoom here. So Zoom is so good. Teddy Sears does the iconic "you can't look up the darkness," which was just insane. And so Keone faces off against Zoom. Also Mark's there, but he doesn't do much, and so Zoom gets absolutely yeeted by Keone, which I think actually makes sense in the scheme of things. She is a goddess after all, and despite Zoom's best efforts, he can't defeat Keone, and so he gets knocked out or killed or whatever. They really don't get into that, but they get their kind of negative speed force that was added to them. You know, they got a boost from Cobalt Blue that was promised at the start of the episode, and that gets zapped off of them by Cobalt Blue. And at the same time, Barry's facing off against Cobalt Blue. He smashes into CC Jitters. He creates a lightsaber, which is awesome. It's a nice callback to that time we had Reverse Flash fighting the Flash with lightsabers created by Speed Force Lightning. And so he threatens the people, and out of nowhere, Jay Garrick pops up, absorbing all of his negative Speed Force energy from Cobalt Blue. He says it's from his Earth 90 doppelganger, which is very interesting. That was just like a nice little Easter egg right there. And so this totally shocks Cobalt Blue, and this is what forces him to absorb all the rest of the speed from those other villains, and I'm pretty sure that's why those other villains aren't able to get up again. And so that's the last we see of Zoom, Savitar, Reverse Flash, Godspeed. It's all about Cobalt Blue now. And so yeah, I have to agree with what lots of people are saying. This was very rushed. Like, I wish we had more time with these villains. Like, we only had like the opening scene, which was really cool, seeing them all show up and be alongside each other. and then we had their individual fights where they got took out really quick, all of them. Like, no one really posed a real threat apart from Cobalt Blue. Like, I definitely think those old villains were made weaker than they actually are, and so maybe it would have been better as like an all speedster fight. So instead of Cecile and Allegra be the one to take out Godspeed and Reverse Flash, maybe they should have brought in like Wally for this episode alongside Bart. That would have been the ideal situation in my opinion. But, you know, they couldn't get everyone back, so it is what it is, and, you know, they went with the Team Flash members that they did have. And so, meanwhile, the whole timeline is being destroyed as Cobalt Blue goes into the negative Speed Force, and he's basically trying to become all powerful. And so, this is a great scene from Grant as Barry reveals he needs to find a way into the negative Speed Force, and Keone offers a way. But before letting him in, Barry reveals that he wants to save Eddie's life because he actually cares about Eddie. He doesn't want to make that same mistake by letting him die once again. And so Barry is extremely passionate about stopping the never-ending cycle of fighting and death, and he wants a better world for his family and everyone. And so Keone says there is another way forward. It's not all about violence and death. It's not all about fighting back against the villains. It's about coexistence. And so this is kind of the line that they take in terms of the way the show kind of ends. And I like where they go with this, which is surprising because obviously as Flash fans we love the big fights, but as Barry faces off against Eddie in the negative Speed Force, Barry refuses to fight. He's like, I'm not going to fight you anymore. And so Eddie becomes like Reverse Flash in this quick cut montage, which I think is very effective to show the point of what he is becoming. And so it's at this point that Barry convinces him to resist the Cobalt Blue Crystal and resist the negative Speed Force that is taking control of Eddie. Barry knows within inside Eddie he is still a good person, and so Eddie actually destroys the crystal at this point, but doesn't stop being the negative Speed Force avatar, and so they will have to work together in order to coexist. And so despite not seeing eye to eye completely, the conflict is over. And quite honestly, even though this is resolved quite quick, I like the way they ended it. I like the montage showing Eddie becoming more like Reverse Flash. It makes sense that Eddie realizes this is what I've become, and I like the way that this has been solved. It's not just talking down the villain, it's making him properly realize what exactly is going on. So yeah, good job here. Let's talk about the next scene, because Nora is coming. So pretty much all the conflict is over in this episode, and we have the birth of Nora that is coming. You get a spark of Nora's lightning as Barry is there in the hospital touching Iris's hands. Little baby Nora comes out. Barry and Iris finally get to meet baby Nora. She actually looks a lot like Jessica Parker Kennedy, so that's just like a nice little moment right there as finally Nora is born. And just to the side of this, we see out of nowhere, Timeless Wells appears into existence. And he talks to Keone. He is here for Keone because Keone is set to become the protector of all nature. And that's apparently her destiny as this kind of goddess. And so I think we were all expecting that she was going to go off at some point, because she teased it a couple of episodes back that she thought she had to go away. And so this is finally happening, and now that the negative Speed Force threat is over for now, she doesn't have to stick around to try and fight it. But just before Keone actually leaves, we have Joe singing to baby Nora. What a voice Jesse L. Martin has. I really like that they kind of fit that in there. And it was nice seeing as we saw the many flashbacks to Barry and Iris's great moments from the past. It's a proper tribute to West Allen, and I really loved seeing their whole relationship in just that couple of seconds with all of those flashbacks. I feel you really needed to have that for the finale. Just looking back, like obviously the montage makes it obvious, but I think it was very much so needed. So after this, Keone actually leaves. So she is basically the Avatar as she literally ascends from her body, and you see the fire, water, air, and earth all around her. And then shockingly, out of nowhere, there is still a body there. And it's actually Caitlin. I could not believe my eyes when it was Caitlin back. I'm so happy they went with this. This was a perfect fit for the ending of the show. We needed Caitlin back, and I'm so glad they got original Caitlin back. And it turns out that Kyon didn't need her mortal body, and so Caitlin is just around. So apparently what happened with Kyon being born was like she just inhabited Caitlin's body pretty much. So after this, the celebrations with Team Flash begin after Nora's birth as well. And so baby Nora's there, everyone's there, all their family and friends. Caitlin is missed by everyone, and you know, we have a nice scene there as Barry apologizes to how they left things. Obviously it was quite toxic between the two of them, as Barry disagreed with what Caitlin was doing in terms of trying to bring Frost back. But they are seemingly on good terms after this conversation. And so in the background you can see Jay and Joan, plus also Timeless Wells is there. It's nice to see them among many other people. I'm sure there is lots of people that you guys recognize. And so it's really trippy, the next scene, because you see Nora holding baby Nora, literally holding herself, risking the entire timeline after Barry has already saved it. Obviously that is a whole other question for another day, but yeah, it was just nice to see it. But just after this, Joe gives a speech to Iris, basically congratulating them on having the baby. But that isn't Joe's whole agenda, as he out of nowhere finally proposes to Cecile. Honestly, I thought they were married already, but I guess I just forgot about it. But it just reminded me of the Elicity marriage scene when they crashed the party when Barry and Iris are trying to get married after Crisis on Earth X. So the attention is quite quickly shifted over to Cecile and Joe as Joe proposes. It's quite sweet of Joe, but yeah, definitely shifting that perspective. And then we go on to the ending of the episode. Oh my god, we need to break this down. I've got a lot of notes here because I needed to write down exactly what Barry was saying. So he says, and I quote, "I need you to believe in the impossible." And he's talking to baby Nora here, by the way. So he goes, "I need you to believe in the impossible. Can you do that? Good. Your dad is fast, faster than the speed of sound, and the faster I go, the more the world slows down." And he continues with this, and it's perfect. This is literally how the opening of the show started. I need you to believe in the impossible. Can you do that? Good. And this actually leads to Barry sending his speed up into the universe, up into the multiverse, with Barry choosing 3 new species. So he says, "My friend Oliver said the lightning chose me, so now I'm going to do the choosing." He goes, "My name is Barry Allen, but their names are..." And we cut to somewhere else in Central City, out there in the universe, as Barry chooses 3 new speedsters, which is just insane. This is such a good way to end the finale. I love this ending scene as we see Avery Ho return. We saw Avery Ho once with Bart. They kissed actually in that episode, and so she is one of the chosen future speedsters, along with Max Mercury, who has been cast. It's great to see Max Mercury. He was referenced. I can't believe this actually happened. It literally blew my mind seeing these guys. And then Jess Chambers is the 3rd and final speedster to be chosen. If you guys didn't know, Jess Chambers is not Jessie Quick. It's not a version of that. They are a non-binary speedster, the first non-binary speedster in the comics. They are a new character, and it's super exciting that they are being teased for the future. So we have these 3 new speedsters. The main question in my mind instantly went to spin-off coming. What? We'll talk about that in just a minute, but basically the idea is that Barry is here to create a new world for Nora and these other speedsters where they can work alongside each other, and it's not just one person who is a speedster and has the powers, you know, handed down by DNA, just like Nora got it because of Barry, as well as Bart, and obviously Kid Flash was in a similar accident. So Barry is out there sharing his powers, and I thought this was just such a good way to end the show. And I know it's about showing the legacy of the future speedsters, but they cast them all. Like, surely we can have a spin-off show off of this. This is just the perfect ending to set up that. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you think they're actually going to do this spin-off? Like, this seems like a pitch for a spin-off. And if people are watching, if HBO Max is watching, surely you're going to buy into this. Imagine those 3 speedsters, Avery Ho, Max Mercury, Jess Chambers, and Nora. That would be insane. That would be an amazing spin-off. Just a Flash-centric spin-off with different characters. So I was just absolutely losing my mind at this point. And then it even goes even further as Barry continues his narration, as he says he's creating a new world where nothing has to be impossible as long as we believe in it. So yeah, the impossible is becoming true with all of these speedsters getting powers for the first time and them being basically the new Flashes. So the episode ends as Barry runs off with his voice narration. It is such a perfect ending to the show. I'm going to be watching this scene for years to come, many times, over and over. So what do I think overall about this episode? I'm going to be honest, I am definitely swayed by the ending. I thought the ending was amazing and it was a perfect end to The Flash. And I liked what they did overall with our characters. But I'm going to be honest, I think they should have used the episodes this season, the 13 episodes, more wisely. I feel like this Cobalt Blue arc should have been 6 episodes at least. We only got 4 episodes. I thought Cobalt Blue was really solid. However, this last episode definitely felt rushed. They got rid of Zoom, Savitar, Godspeed, Reverse Flash so quickly in one mini fight scene each. And so I believe they could have paced it out with a 2-part finale rather than this just one episode that was really rushed. And so it wouldn't have been this fast paced and they could have spread it out and kind of got more into that. And so I feel a lot of people are going to be a bit annoyed by the fact that, you know, those amazing villains who were so powerful in the past got took out so quick, especially as they got a boost of Speed Force energy by the negative Speed Force. They should be actually more powerful. But overall, really good finale. I would say right now, having watched it one time, probably gonna give this finale like a 9 out of 10. Really solid. Yeah, it's fast paced, but you know, I overall really enjoyed the episode and I think it's a fitting end for the show. So good finale, can't wait to rewatch it. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and if you've enjoyed my Flash videos since the end of season 2 and the start of season 3 of The Flash, and it's been such a long time since like 2016, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, and also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. As I said at the start of the video, we're not going anywhere. The channel's still going to be uploading pretty much daily. We still got Superman and Lois running on right now, so I'm going to continue making videos on that. Plus we have a bunch of Flash content to go over based on this episode, because this sets up a potential spin-off with Avery Ho, Max Mercury and Jess Chambers, along with Nora and maybe Bart as a speedster spin-off off of The Flash. So I can't wait to talk about all of this and so much more with you guys. So thank you for watching. This has been my final ever review of The Flash. And so you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video. But for now, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.